I am calling the 6 p.m. Planning Board meeting, December the 10th, Tuesday, to order. At this time, we're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. At this time, I'm going to ask for any disqualifications on the cases we are hearing this evening. Should not be any. These are just basically UDO changes. We have a quorum, and at this time, I'm going to ask for a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
I'll move to approve.
We have a
tonight's
motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed likewise. Also, if you've had a chance to look over the minutes from our last meeting on November the 12th, I'm going to entertain a motion to approve the minutes from our last meeting.
I move to approve the minutes from the last minute.
We have a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
We have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed likewise. Okay, moving on to old business. I can just read it.
I can't see, I'm only seeing the video.
Here we go, here we go. All right, old business number one, PB 2422, Currituck County, request to amend the Unified Development Ordinance, Chapter 2, Administration, Section 2.3.3, Community Meeting, and Section 2.3.8, Public Hearing Procedures to clarify the public participation procedure for evidentiary hearings. And we are all aware of what this is. This is third time this has been in front of this board. Okay.
That's right, yep. And with that being said, I'll just show you here the proposed changes to the community meeting section. We talked about getting the information out to adjacent property owners earlier in the process. So we've gone in and amended the notice content requirement that for development applications subject to a special use permit, that the notice shall contain a reference to the evidentiary hearing procedures of the ordinance. Staff will also work on a template. I mean, it will not be required that they use our template, but they may use our template that will have a link to the brochure as well. I know when Cherie sent out letters for a special use permit hearing before the Board of Commissioners that's coming up on Monday night, it had a reference to the website and the brochure. So I think that's helpful for folks to know that information as early as possible. And so we'll do the same for this. I won't go over the prior language. I think we were, unless you have any questions, we can go ahead back to the staff recommendation, which is for approval of the amendment as it clarifies the evidentiary hearing procedures and it's not in conflict with the ordinance or the land use plan.
Okay. Any questions for staff?
So just to confirm, it will happen during the application process for not TRC period, but when is the first notification
The
process?
community meeting is the very
okay.
first step in the process for any project, any development application that's subject to a special use permit. So in that very first communication from the applicant, it will have a reference to those procedures.
Can't do it any earlier than that.
That's fair.
Okay, any more questions for staff? All right, hearing none, I'm going to entertain a motion to approve PB 24-22.
I move to approve PB 24-22 Currituck County because the request is in conformance with the Unified Development Ordinance and clarifies evidentiary hearing procedures. The request is not in conflict with the Imagine Currituck 2040 Vision Plan.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Do I hear a second?
Second.
We have a motion. I'm going to let Mr. Ennis have it. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed likewise. Motion passes. Moving on to new business. PB 2404, Currituck County, request to amend the UDO, Chapter 4, Use Standards, Chapter 5, Development Standards, and Chapter 10, Definitions and Measurement to modify the shopping center permitting requirements, design standard applicability, and shopping center definition. This time we'll hear from staff.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Staff has worked on this text amendment to provide what we feel like is a better definition of shopping center that better reflects the type of development that's intended to apply shopping center development and design standards to, which is generally a larger project. I'm actually going to start, if you don't mind, with the definition of shopping center. So you can see here, this is our edit of the shopping center definition, and we'll go ahead and read the current definition first, which is that currently it's one or more commercial buildings with 5,000 or more square feet of area that is divided into 4 or more individual tenant spaces that are planned, constructed, and managed as a single entity with common parking, access, loading, stormwater, landscaping, and open space facilities. So currently, the threshold to be a shopping center is really kind of low for commercial development. So our attempt at defining shopping center a little better is a commercial development with 15,000 square feet or more of floor area that is divided into 3 or more individual tenant spaces located on a lot that is 4 acres in area or greater, and planned, constructed, and managed as a single entity with common parking, access, loading, stormwater, landscaping, and open space facilities. Now, just so you know, the development that's smaller than a shopping center or doesn't meet the threshold to become a shopping center still has to meet design standards. It's just a different set of design standards that is more geared towards smaller non-residential development. And with that definition, we're also proposing a change to the type of permits that's required for a shopping center. So currently, shopping centers require a special use permit. Staff is proposing an alternative of a zoning compliance permit for shopping centers that are up to 30,000 square feet, and continuing to require a special use permit for shopping centers that are 30,000 square feet or greater. And that's the change you see here in Chapter 4. And then with respect to the design standards, we're making the applicability of the design standards match our proposed shopping center definition. So the effect of this amendment is, and I just have a comparison here of the current ordinance versus the proposed ordinance. So the current ordinance basically defines shopping center as non-residential development with 5,000 square feet or more and 4 units or more. And the proposed ordinance is taking that up to 15,000 square feet, 3 units on a parcel that's 4 acres or greater. Currently, the ordinance requires a special use permit for any development that meets the shopping center definition, which could just be a 5,000 square foot development. Our proposed ordinance is requiring a zoning compliance permit for shopping centers up to 30,000 square feet and a special use permit for shopping centers 30,000 square feet or more. Currently, the shopping center design standards apply to these smaller commercial projects, and so those will be subject to non-residential design standards, not the shopping center standards. But any development that's defined as a shopping center will have to meet the shopping center design standards. You're very familiar with the text amendment review standards. And staff does recommend approval of the request that because it's consistent with the Imagine Currituck plan, including Land Use Goal 3, which I did not put Land Use Goal 3 in the packet on the presentation, but it's probably worth reading that, which is to support new and existing commercial developments that adhere to quality, community appearance, and design standards, including landscaping improvements and signs tailored to achieve a unique community character. And I'd be happy to answer any questions the board has at this time.
Okay, any questions for staff?
Just a quick question on your last slide, please. Yes, it requires a special use permit. The difference between a zoning compliance permit and a special use permit, is that totally two different, totally
It
different
is
things?
correct. It's a staff review or a technical review committee review versus a Board of Commissioners special use permit review through the evidentiary hearing process.
So essentially, the smaller of the two is just saying you've met the zoning standards.
Correct.
Whereas with a special use, there's a whole new set of rules.
There's the special use permit criteria, the 4 findings that need to be made to issue the special use permit. There's also a trigger for traffic impact analysis for shopping centers that are 30,000 square feet or greater, which is another reason for choosing that, continuing to use that number as when the special use permit's required.
Okay.
That's on the current ordinance, there's no acreage defined.
Correct.
Okay,
So it could be and that's what we've seen. I mean, this is coming from seeing plans where proposed developments are changing the number of units in order to avoid the shopping center standard, because it takes a long time to get a shopping center, special use permit approved, can take up to 4 months. Whereas the zoning's already in place, and we have these design standards in place. We have all the dimensional standards of the ordinance, lot coverage, parking. We have community compatibility standards if you're close to or adjacent to a residential home in a residential zoning district. So those pieces are in place to review those commercial projects on property zone GB.
okay. Any more questions for staff? Okay, hearing none, I am going to open the floor for any discussion or entertaining a motion. No, this is a UDO change. Yeah, no one's signed up to speak on this.
I'll make a motion.
UDO change, yeah.
I move to approve PB 2404 Currituck County because the request is in conformance with the Unified Development Ordinance and Imagine Currituck 2040 Vision Plan, Land Use Goal 3.
Okay, we have a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed likewise. Motion passes. Okay, any announcements?
I'll just introduce you to our planner 1, Patrick Leary, who's here in the audience tonight. We're happy to have Patrick on board, and he's helping us. He's making an impact, and he's also very good with computers and technology, so he's been willing to do anything we've asked of him. And then you haven't seen Jason in a while probably, but Jason's here tonight too.
Still around, yeah.
Yeah. And Bill, of course, but he's been here, so. I don't have any other announcements. Do you?
Okay, nothing
Nope.
else? All
All
right,
right.
well, I'm going to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and
Thank you.
we will see you next year. So at this time, I'm going to entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Got a motion to adjourn, do I hear a second?
I'll second
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. And that's